Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. We're looking at a number of mock drafts that are coming out, and we know now where the Saints will pick. So there are folks that are putting out mocks, and I'm less concerned with the exact player that they're pigeonholing to New Orleans and more about what kind of position are they looking at for the Saints. I have my thoughts. I gave them to you earlier this week. I think that pass rusher and offensive line are the two biggest needs on this team. And so when you look at the first mock draft that I pulled today, it is from Sports Illustrated, which we'll talk about a little bit later. It was not from Sports Illustrated. We'll go to the top of the page here. The first mock draft I looked at was from ESPN. Jordan Reed at ESPN has J.C. Latham, big right tackle from Alabama, going to the Saints. I think that makes a ton of sense. You don't know exactly where you are with Ryan Ramczyk. You don't know what you're going to get out of Trevor Penning, if anything. You've got to figure out Andrus Peat's contract. Same thing with James Hurst. If you want to bring him back, we'll see. But right now, there are significant needs at tackle, and I think that that J.C. Latham very likely would fill one of those needs, whether it's him or somebody else that you could grab. The Athletic had a mock draft from Nick Bumgardner, who has pigeonholed Rome Odunze as the Saints' first-round pick. This doesn't make any sense to me. I realize that adding Rome Odunze would add a really quality player and pass catcher to your offense. But you've got Chris Olave, you've got Rashid Shaheed, A.T. Perry came along a little bit and was better, and you may have something in him. You've still got Keith Kirkwood, Lynn Bowden Jr., who are not frontline NFL receivers, but Chris Olave is, and Rashid Shaheed is a big playmaker. And if you think you've got something A.T. Perry, you're now drafting Rome Odunze basically as a luxury, just as something, another potential really quality pass catcher, but it's not a need. You can go get a number 3 receiver in free agency for pretty inexpensive. You're talking about a first-round draft choice in the top 20 picks of the draft. I do not understand thinking that a wide receiver makes a lot of sense there. Now, NBC Sports had a mock draft out from Connor Rogers, and they've got UCLA's Leiatu Latu going to the Saints. He's pass rusher, and I think that makes a ton of sense. I'm right there. If you want to draft him, Jared Verse was somebody we mentioned yesterday as somebody to rush the passer, I think that's a great idea. That's a need. Your pass rush this year stunk. Cam Jordan had 2 sacks. He's not getting any younger. Now, you've paid Carl Granderson, and that's awesome, and I just don't think you can expect anything from Peyton Turner. So you need to find somebody that can rush the passer. Whether you think Isaiah Foskey can grow into that, we'll see. Fox Sports had a mock draft from Jason McIntyre that had the Saints going with Illinois defensive tackle Jer'Jon Newton. They think he's the top interior lineman in the draft. But you just signed 2 guys on the interior of the defensive front in free agency last year, and you drafted Brian Brzee in the first round last year, and his returns were pretty good. Say what you will about Nathan Shepard and Cullen Saunders, but Brzee looked pretty good, and coming into year 2, you can expect more from him. That's a really tough spot to come into in the league and be really productive on the interior of the defensive front. I've said that a few times this year when we were talking about Brzee. You draft a running back, like I would have suggested he should be able to get out there and give it a go week 1 and be a high-level player. Same thing goes a lot of times for receivers. But you start talking about interior defensive line, quarterback, some of those positions, like that's tough on a rookie. And I think Brzee could be really good. I don't know if interior defensive line is where the Saints' biggest need is. I would push back against that a little bit. CBS Sports, Josh Edwards, Rome Odunze, the second one we've seen there. Sports Illustrated's Luke Easterling goes with J.C. Latham. So that's another double up that we've seen there. Pro Football Network, Joe Broback went with Jared Verse. Talked about him yesterday. I love that pick. I think that would be great. If you could potentially pair him as the heir apparent to Cam Jordan and put him on the other side of Carl Granderson with Brian Brzee and what he showed as an interior pass rusher, all of a sudden I think there's reason to believe that over the next 2-3 years, that nucleus could be pretty formidable up front. Maybe Isaiah Foskey chips in and helps with that. That'd be great too. But that, to me, makes a lot of sense. We've seen Jared Verse here as an LSU fan base the last couple of years. He's a handful, and I think there's real reason to believe he's going to be an excellent pro player. So that position and player makes a lot of sense to me. So, and then as I continue to look through Draft Wire, Kurt Popejoy, he's got J.C. Latham as the pick as well. Then for the win, Christian DeAndrea had the Saints going with Dallas Turner. Now, I just don't know that Dallas Turner is going to be there when the Saints pick. There's a lot that's going to happen between now and the draft. You've got workouts and pro days and combines and people still analyzing film, and there's a lot that goes into this. It would just surprise me if Dallas Turner slid that far. I would have to think he's one of the top pass rushers in this draft. And while I do think the quarterbacks are going to go early, and there is a belief that there's going to be a run on wide receivers with Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Rome Odunze, all those guys, like I think there's going to be a run on receivers as well that maybe pushes some people back, but I don't know that Dallas Turner is in play there. So there's a few more, like Yardbarker, Seth Trackman's got Jared Verse going to the Saints. There's another one. Dustin Mosher has Leatu Latu going to the Saints, so that's a double up. And so that makes more sense to me. I think that when you start to look at Saints positionally needs and what they need to do in the first round, offensive tackle, whether it's Latham or somebody else, or pass rusher, whether that's Verse, Latu, whoever, that makes a lot of sense. You start talking about drafting interior defensive linemen, you start talking about drafting wide receivers. I don't see that at this point. There was another mock that had the Saints taking Brock Bowers at tight end. And I'm just like, that's a luxury. Like, you've got some tight ends. Juwan Johnson's played very well. You've got Foster Moreau. I think Jimmy Graham, based on his Instagram post, is probably done. But you didn't use him very much the last year anyway. So, we'll have a lot of time to dive into this, and we'll see. There's a lot of moving pieces, and you figure the Saints' first-round pick is very important, as is their second-round pick. They don't have picks later on, and if they could maybe move some guys and be a trade to accumulate some draft picks, I wouldn't hate that either, because when you've got the oldest roster in the National Football League, you have to find a way to get younger, and this is the best way to do it, and this is not something the Saints have done. They have not prioritized accumulating draft picks. They have prioritized targeting individual players and moving up to get them, and that's fine when you've got a championship-level roster that's a piece or two away. When you're a team that's been 500 the last 2 years and can't win a terrible division, you've obviously got significant problems all over the field, and you can't address them if you keep trading away your back-end draft picks to go get one dude. You want to go trade up to go get Brandon Cooks? Fine. You got Drew Brees, quality defense, have at it. But then you keep doing it to go get Peyton Turner, to go get Davenport, go get Olave. Like you've just continued to move picks to move up. And eventually it comes back to bite you because you're not able to build that young nucleus. And you get older and older and older, and you depend more on free agency. And that's a tough way to make a living. The draft is the most important roster building tool that you have. You've got to do well on undrafted free agents. You've got to do well on free agents, period. All that stuff is very important, but the draft is the most important. And the Saints have got to hit here, and it really, in my opinion, does not need to be somebody out there on the perimeter at corner or wide receiver. It needs to be offensive line or pass rusher.
Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.